Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Esoterica, and a continuing series where I review every Capcom CPS, CP System Dash, CPS II, and CPS III game ever made. And today we're taking a look at Jojo's Bizarre Adventure, which is the pseudo-sequel and enhanced version of Jojo's Venture that we talked about last week. And I'm definitely going to be retreading a little bit of territory because this is the same game except it's enhanced with more characters, more stages, and more features. But I'm going to still be saying about the same thing as far as the mechanics are concerned because they are quite similar. But you will see, right off the top, we get way more characters. Before we get too far involved, do me a huge favor. Go down below, hit like, subscribe, and that notification bell definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, we got a Patreon link down there as well. But basically, Jojo's Bizarre Adventure is the more complete version of Jojo's Venture. So if you are going to play one of these games, this is definitely the one you're going to want to pick up. The nice thing is it emulates perfectly, but I have this on Dreamcast as well, and the Dreamcast version has both games on the same disc. This was remastered in HD and released on modern consoles, but that's been delisted since then, so unless you have a modified console and can download it with some less than scrupulous tactics, you're not going to be able to buy this anymore. I'm sure it's down to a licensing issue with the makers of the Jojo anime and manga, but unfortunately, it's a little bit of a hard game to get now, so I definitely recommend if you want a physical copy of this, go ahead and pick up the Dreamcast version. It's going to be the best that you can get outside of owning original CPS III hardware. Like I mentioned in the previous video, Jojo's Bizarre Adventure is a super competent, really colorful, quirky, and unique fighting game, and Jojo's Bizarre Adventure is just an expanded version of that. Think of it as a 1.5 release versus being a sequel. It's got a lot of really interesting things going, and the sequel pushes things even more. We get a lot more story and a lot more strange elements. I love these screen transitions, but you're going to see here that we're going to get a little bit of exposition, and then suddenly our opponent for the stage is going to crawl out of that mini fridge. It's really weird, it's strange, I love it. You get a lot of story, everything's great. And what I will say isn't great is the AI in this game. I'm not sure if this was a glitch or what happened here, but basically my opponent just stands in the corner, doesn't block, and doesn't do anything whatsoever. And I've noticed the AI in these games is quite off. It's either hyper aggressive and blocks everything and really forces the attack, or for some strange reason it just absolutely stands here and does nothing. These games, Jojo's Venture and Jojo's Bizarre Adventure, are much better when you're playing with a second player who is a human, especially if they know what they're doing. It really comes alive. Because you'll see, after I won the first round, suddenly the AI wakes up and starts pressing me and attacking and actually giving me some challenge. I don't know what happened there. I don't know if it's a glitch or if it's intentional, but it seems like every once in a while this game kind of just, for lack of a better term, the AI freezes and says, no, we're just not going to fight back, which is a little bit of a bummer because you want some sort of challenge, but definitely a lot better game when you have another human being sitting next to you, especially if you open up a few beers. It really comes alive. But one of the really strange things is there are mini games or mini levels in Jojo's Bizarre Adventure. To be able to get to the next fight, we have to transition across the stage, avoiding all these water elements, not getting hit and losing our life, and getting there within the time limit. Now, I will say it's definitely fun to look at, and it's an interesting kind of diversion. But when you actually get to the fight, it's automatic. And honestly, doing 2D side-scrolling in a fighting game engine definitely doesn't feel very good. So I'm not sure why they put them there. I like it for the distraction, but it's definitely just going to be something that gets slightly in the way until you get to the next match. At least in the Street Fighter games, when they give you a car that you need to beat up, it makes logical sense. You're just beating something up that's not moving, like a vehicle. But in Jojo's Bizarre Adventure, the side-scrolling stages, while really unique and something you don't usually see, aren't really exactly the type of thing that I love. But what I do love is just, again, the mechanics of the fighting in Jojo's Bizarre Adventure. Everything's fast-paced and reactionary. I just miss getting hit by that super because I was able to jump at the exact right time. When you're playing this game and you're playing it well, everything clicks and it just feels absolutely spectacular. But like I mentioned in the previous video, the soundtrack is one of my favorite elements of the game, so go ahead and listen for like a minute or so and I'll come back and tell you more why Jojo's Bizarre Adventure is definitely the experience you want to have. But enjoy!
Fight. Fight. Lisa, Lisa.
The soundtrack is 100% the best part of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and I don't think anyone can deny that. But right now we're fighting definitely not Sean Connery or Indiana Jones. I'm pretty sure that's not Sean Connery. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. I'm pretty sure it is. But every character has a completely different fighting style. You'll see here we're using telekinesis to shoot forks and different weapons into our opponent, and I do really enjoy that. And I also like the background. It's got a lot of scale and depth to it. I wish there was a few more moving elements in the background. I get it that CPS 3 was more powerful than CPS 2, but in some ways it is hard to tell. But using that super finishing move right there, we're able to easily win the match, and I love these little transitions. She's magnetic. Even the bike with the guy wearing the fez is attracted to her. There's a lot of elements in this game that are just full of little touches and characteristics that make it feel like a really special game, and it is a really good game. It's definitely not my favorite fighting game ever. I'd rather play something like Matra Melee, honestly, if I want that weird and quirky nature, but you could do a lot worse than JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. It's unfortunate that the game never really did much else after it came out. It's not like there's an entire series of JoJo fighting games, unfortunately, but it was fun for its time and place. If you do want to play this game, like I mentioned earlier, I recommend the Dreamcast version or just emulating it. You can definitely buy this on a CPS 3 board, but I will warn you guys, I said in the previous video, those boards are extremely delicate, probably the most delicate arcade hardware you can find, because the security cartridge will suicide itself if you even so much look at it the wrong way or say something mean about it. Of course I'm joking, but it's pretty close to that joke. If you even tap it wrong, technically it can suicide itself. It's a really bad design, and I think that's why the CPS 3 didn't last very long in arcades, was because the hardware would just constantly break. If you even so much as plug in the kick harness while the board's running, there's reports of the suicide battery in that cartridge killing the RAM chip that holds the registers to run the game. So it's pretty much a disaster, and I don't recommend buying it, but I definitely do recommend playing JoJo's Bizarre Adventure however you want to do it that's not original hardware that's been unmodified, because it's one of those fighting games that you're just always having fun when you're playing it. But of course, if you get somebody else in the room and you both enjoy fighting games, it gets much, much better. But what I love about it is just a weird, wild game. We don't get these weird games as much anymore, but in the 90s, this was really what was going on. Everything was just a little bit different, a little bit stranger, and for some reason, it felt a little bit more fun. And if you ever played this game before, leave me a comment down below. I'd love to hear what you guys think about it, because I know this is still played competitively. That's how much it is enjoyed. But we have 2 more videos in our CPS review series, and then I'm going to have to find something new to talk about. But yeah, I'm sure you can guess what those games are, because unfortunately the CPS 3 really didn't have much of a library for it. But I would love to hear you guys' opinion. Have you played JoJo's Bizarre Adventure? Are you into it? Is it a game that you just skip? I love hearing what your guys' opinions are. Obviously, I enjoy fighting games. I'm decent at them, but not the best. But I really do enjoy JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. It's just one of those games that no matter how much I play it, I always want to come back in 6 months or a year and give it a few more minutes. But like I mentioned earlier, do me a huge favor, go down below, hit like, subscribe, and get notification bell. Definitely helps us out. We will be back next Wednesday with another episode in our Capcom CPS review series, and I'll have videos tomorrow, Friday, Sunday, and Tuesday as well. But yeah, if you want a fighting game that you've never played before, and you've never checked this one out 100% after the video is done, go and find a way to play it. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.